During restoration of this 1856 portrait, a mirror's reflection uncovered the house's dark secret. The photograph arrived at the Digital Preservation Institute in a climate-controlled shipping container, one of dozens being processed that month. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, senior restoration specialist, carefully removed the daguerreotype from its protective housing. It was another wealthy Southern family portrait from the 1850s, donated by descendants who wanted their family history preserved and digitized. The image showed a prosperous Charleston family posed in their ornate parlor. A distinguished gentleman in a dark suit stood beside his seated wife, her voluminous silk gown spreading across an upholstered settee. 3 children in elaborate clothing completed the composition. 2 boys in miniature suits flanking their parents, and a young girl in layers of ruffled fabric seated at her mother's feet. Behind them, the room's opulence was carefully displayed: damask wallpaper, an elaborate chandelier, a marble fireplace, heavy velvet curtains, and expensive furniture that spoke of substantial wealth. It was Tuesday, the 12th of March 2024. Elena had been restoring 19th-century photographs for nearly 15 years. She followed her usual system: preliminary scan, damage assessment, cleaning, high-resolution digitization, then careful digital restoration. This particular daguerreotype, dated 1858 according to the paperwork, appeared to be in relatively good condition. The donor, Catherine Whitmore, had identified the subjects as her great-great-great-grandparents Edmund and Constance Ashford, with their children at their Charleston plantation home. Elena positioned the plate under her specialized scanner and began the high-resolution scan. As the preliminary image appeared on her monitor, she noticed something unusual in the background. Behind the posed family hung a large ornamental mirror in an elaborate gilded frame. Its surface was heavily tarnished, the reflection little more than a dark smudge. She zoomed in, adjusting contrast and brightness. Shapes began to emerge from the darkness, human shapes. 3 days later, the full high-resolution files were ready. Elena opened the section containing the mirror and increased the magnification. Slowly the reflection clarified. The mirror had been angled to catch not only the parlor but also a doorway leading to an adjacent space. In that doorway stood a group of black people, enslaved people, crowded into a narrow hallway or service corridor. At least 7 figures, possibly more, were pressed tightly together. Some stood, others seemed to be sitting or crouching. The doorway framed them like a window into another world that existed side by side with the Ashford family's carefully staged display of genteel prosperity. Elena sat back, her heart pounding. She had restored hundreds of antebellum Southern photographs, and many contained enslaved people, usually in the background or posed as evidence of the owner's property. But these people had not been meant to appear in the image at all. The mirror had betrayed the careful composition and captured what the photographer never intended to document. She called Dr. James Carter, a historian specializing in slavery in the antebellum South at the College of Charleston. When he arrived and saw the enhanced image, his reaction confirmed her instincts. "They're waiting," he said quietly. "Watching. They were made to stand there during the photography session, available if needed, but kept out of sight." Over the next week, Elena continued refining the image while James researched the Ashford family. Plantation records showed that Edmund Ashford owned 43 enslaved people according to the 1860 census slave schedule. In the household section of the 1858 account book, James found 7 people listed as house servants: Rose, age 26, nurse and lady's maid, Samuel, age 34, butler, Dina, age 41, cook, Thomas, age 19, footman and driver, Celia, age 16, chambermaid, Jacob, age 32, housekeeper and valet, and Patience, age 8, general household help. Rose's entry included a note that she had given birth to a daughter named Grace in October 1857. By the time of the photograph, Grace would have been about 4 months old. The woman holding the infant in the mirror was almost certainly Rose. The young girl whose unguarded face showed confusion or fear was likely Patience. Further records revealed a painful detail. In January 1859, less than a year after the portrait was taken, Rose and baby Grace were sold to a man named Harrison Price of Columbia for $1,200. They were separated from everyone they knew and sent to a new owner with no say in their fate. When word of the discovery reached a local journalist, the story created an immediate sensation. The enhanced mirror image was published alongside the full family portrait and quickly went viral. Many people expressed shock and sadness, saying the image made the reality of slavery feel immediate and personal. Others, including some claiming to be Ashford descendants, protested that the family was being unfairly judged by modern standards. More meaningful contacts came from people who believed they might be descended from those visible in the reflection. A woman named Teresa Washington reached out. Her family oral history included stories of an ancestor named Rose who had been enslaved near Charleston and sold away with her infant daughter before the Civil War. The dates and details matched closely. Elena and James created a comprehensive digital exhibition titled Reflections of Truth. It presented the photograph, the historical records, the technical explanation of the enhancement, and what little biographical information could be recovered about the 7 people. Within a month, the website received over 2 million visitors. Schools incorporated it into their lessons. Museums inquired about physical exhibitions. Additional descendants of Samuel, Dina, and Patience also came forward. 6 months later, Catherine Whitmore, the original donor, sent Elena a package containing extra family papers and a letter. She wrote that she had spent months wrestling with the discovery. Her initial reaction had been defensive, but the evidence made clear that her ancestors had fully participated in a system of profound cruelty. She donated a substantial sum to a research center in the names of Rose, Grace, Samuel, Patience, and the others. 2 years after the initial discovery, Elena and James organized a commemoration on the land where the Ashford plantation house had once stood. The house itself was long gone, but a memorial marker was installed naming Rose, Grace, Samuel, Dina, Thomas, Patience, Jacob, and Celia. Dozens of descendants attended. Teresa Washington spoke briefly, her voice steady despite emotion. "Now I can see her face. I can look into her eyes and tell my children, this is where we come from. This is who we come from." The mirror had kept its secret for more than a century and a half. Once revealed, that secret could not be hidden again. Behind every carefully composed display of wealth and respectability in the slave-holding South stood real people with names, faces, and lives whose forced labor made that wealth possible. The reflection had finally shown them.